Welcome to Broodminder's global production facility in beautiful Stoughton, Wisconsin. I'm Rich Morris, and I'm here today to talk about spring maintenance of your Hive monitoring devices. So this week we're going to initially talk with Theo Hartman, who's our people's drone, and he's going to give us a little advice on what he does, because he's got 50 to 100 of these devices running for the last 5 years. So hi, Theo, how are you?
Good, thank you. Morning, Rich.
So what can you tell us about spring maintenance? You got lots of Broodminder and Hive monitoring devices out there.
Yeah, I guess my experience is that the recommendation is to replace batteries in the fall, going into winter, and that gives you a good opportunity to see, how the devices perform over the winter. Go and take the devices out of the hive, look at them, clean up as much as you much as you can. If it's also a good idea to have replacement wrappers available. That way you could actually remove the device from the wrapper, set the old wrapper aside, put the device into a new wrapper, and get it ready. I check in my Broodminder what the battery level looks like over time. It should be okay if you have replaced the battery in the fall, and it should be good to go for the summer, because now it gets warmer and the battery levels will recover. If they do not recover, then you have a device that potentially has high power consumption, and there is a section in the user manual that tells you what to do in case you have such a device. With the scales, also there, it's a good idea to check the housing for cracks that can happen, and replace as needed. Scales, you can replace the battery in the field. That this is not such a big deal, but on the temperature and temperature humidity devices, it's recommended to just take them out of the hive, take them inside, and clean them up. The wrappers can be cleaned by putting them in a freezer and leave them there for an hour or so, and they take them out, and you can pop off the propolis, and that way you don't have to replace the wrapper completely.
Thanks, Theo. Our people's drone has spoken, and we'll talk to you later.
Yep. Thank you, Rich. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'm going to do myself a favor and take all my sensors out of the hives and take them inside to change the batteries and to restore them. So here's my hives, and I will see you inside with the sensors. Okay, well, with that, the words of wisdom from Theo, we've now got the devices, the Broodminder devices inside, and taking a look at them. So the first thing I'm going to do is start up the apiary app, and I'm going to clear it just so that I know I don't have other things. You can clear the apiary app anytime. It's only showing local information. It won't affect the cloud information at all. But it's a really good way to quickly look, and I can see my devices, and if I look here, I can see the battery levels on them also. So as I look across all these, I see the batteries 87, 62, 67, 58. I'm not going to worry about it if it's above 60, 55 or 60. So, if it's below that, I'll do something about it. Have a scale there, 43E008, that's 56. I'll go ahead and change the battery on that. 478019, I'll change the battery on that. But what I'll also do is update the firmware. So just as an example of that, I'll do the first one here, 408929, and you can see it comes up with update firmware, and we're just going to say yes, update now. Before you do this, it tells you, download the information, because it's going to clear the memory in the device. As long as the battery's running, it's going to have device information in it, and you can upload it. So what should happen is what you're seeing right here, that it just is going to go through and update the device. And what that will do is, it'll put the SoarMinder stuff into it, which I like. and it also makes available the ability to put it in battery saver mode. Battery saver mode will make batteries last over 5 years if you have some sort of hub. You can have a sub hub or a cell hub, or you can have the apiary app uploading data. What it does is only turn on the signal for 10 minutes an hour, and so the hub can grab that information and hoist it to the cloud. So I did that, and I will go ahead and do that with the other devices too here, but I'm not going to show you that. Now the next thing, so it's rebooting, and let's see, 47, 89, 29 up there at the top, and you can see the version label went away. So that means it's all up to date. And the battery's at 80%, and if I look at it, the case looks good, so I'm done with that one. So on my other devices, I'm going to look and just see how crummy they look. This one, is looking sort of crummy. So it's pretty yellowed and brittle. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull it apart. The circuit board looked fine and the battery looked fine, so I'm not going to mess with it. And I've got a housing right here that I can use. And oops, not there. Okay, housing I can use. And I'll just fold it up. Like so. And take a look at the circuit board, and it looks good. I mean, it's clean. The case has been doing a good job. If I wanted, I could take some 91% alcohol. It has less water in it, so water is bad for circuit boards. I could clean it with that with either spray bottle or rub it on. That won't hurt anything to do that. But this one looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in here. And done this thousands of times, so I'm pretty good at it. Oh, I shouldn't use a knife, but I'm going to put that in. And then the one step that is important on these triangle shaped guys, these wedge shaped guys, is we put a sticker here, because if you let it stick out of the hive, either on purpose or accidentally too far, come on, then it'll wick rain in. If rain goes against the side of the hive, it'll wick it in. So what we do is just put a piece of tape, or we got these stickers which works really good, and cover that crack. Now, if you always keep it inside the hive, there's no problem with it. But we've had them returned where, they were sticking out a little bit, rain hits it, it wicks the water in, and just really makes the board crummy. So we'll get rid of that. We've made little design changes over the years, and have found that, one of the problems we had with the early ones, when you pull it off, it would pull the sticker loose. So what we do now is we just staple that baby. So when you cover it up, wrap it around and then staple it. That way when you pull it loose, it won't unglue at that end. The T2s, I like them the best because they are sealed. It's really hard to change the tape out in the field just because everything is so sticky and gooey and everything. And you can see, most of these guys aren't too bad. Some, like I said, come back awful, and some come back great. Something else you can do is when you take it out and put it back, you can go to My Broodminder and set the start and stop times so that it filters out that time that it's 70 degrees in here, obviously not the beehive. So, let's look at the scales next. So here's a couple of scales. This one was out in my apiary all last year, and you can see, I taped it up from before to reinforce the corners because they were starting to crack. This housing is probably 3 years old. It's not great, but you know what? It's okay, so I'm not going to mess with it. Now, if I did want to, what I would do is take packing tape, and I'll just do it again on this one. Take packing tape and just put it around the corners like that, fold it down, and that reinforces the corners really good. It all depends on how sunny your location is. If you're out in the Arizona sun, they're going to get a lot worse shape than if you're, in northern Washington State. So, what's hard on these things is weather. So the more you can do to protect it from the weather, the longer it will last. This one is actually, you can see from the insides, one of the very early devices that we made, and we've changed it a lot since then as far as how we run the wires and whatnot. But it's lasted now about 5 years, and it's still going strong. But it all depends on keeping them dry. So with the plastic parts as delivered, it does keep them dry, but as they get old and cracked, you'll see, for instance, this one was returned to us, and it's got a lot of water staining. That's okay, but the inside of it, just got too much humidity and ruined the circuitry. We do coat them heavily with conformal coating. You can see these scales behind me that we're building. We dressed them last night with the conformal coating. We do the best we can, but if you let water in there and sit, it's just going to ruin the circuit board. So the one advice we can give you on all Hive monitors, it doesn't matter whose it is, weather is bad, and bees are bad. We're putting these things in places they shouldn't be for electronics, but we certainly want them there because we love the data, we love what it tells us. Okay, now let's look at my W2. So this was one of the prototypes. It's a little bit different, and you can see it's definitely changed color, but inside, it stayed pretty good. You want to inspect and make sure that the seal is good. This one has a prototype of the, we use spandex to keep the bees out of the inside the hive, and then we use the plastic on the outside. So, I think what I'll do getting ready for this year is, just go ahead and reinforce this. And once again, packing tape is just great stuff. What we would recommend, really the best is, that's out there everywhere, is Gorilla Tape is great. What we use here in production is HAIS-GO packing tape. It looks like it comes from the Eastern Bloc. It's inexpensive, but this stuff is waterproof. It's really flexible. It's just, we get it on Amazon when we can. And we'll just wrap that over there. It's not going to hurt. Now, the other thing you want to inspect on your W2s is just that the interface, between the rain cap, this aluminum part, that it's basically, it needs to move free. So if you have, clobbered it with a hammer or a high part or something, and it's touching, then just go and bend that back out and make sure that when you do it, it rattles a little bit, and it should be, the bottom from the top has to be free to move. Now, if you haven't looked at these yet, so I'm curious what they look like. This was another prototype, and I don't even remember what it looks like. But in this case, I put it under the hive and put it in a bag, And of course, you know, with that, it's terrific. Boy, this is a really old one. You know, there's a little bit about, you know, how I'm going in my own apiary to do this. We heard from Teo. And, you know, next week we're going to, I think, talk more about temperature, why broodminders think temperature is so important. We believe it's the most important thing that you can measure in your hives. And so Teo and I will talk about that and just sort of give you some of the background of our thinking of why that is. So until next time, thanks for listening. And remember, every hive counts, and we'll see you next week.